Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. As promised in our daily financial news this morning, we have a special guest. We got somebody from the gorgeous city of Miami, Florida, Raul, joining the show. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a small world. We know lots of the same people. So why don't you introduce my audience to who you are, what you do in this crazy world of real estate?
Oh, real estate, I got you. My name is Raul Balufa. I started in real estate almost 8 years ago now. I was 20 years old, or 21, going to college, studying economics. Didn't really know what the heck I was going to do. I was selling cars, just trying to find my way in this business world to make some money.
Yeah.
And I learned that people who buy fancy cars, most of them had real estate. And
there you go.
Yeah.
That was his signal.
I'm like, I'm here trying to sell a car to make $250, and I'm like going through all this. And it was a family business, by the way. It was like a thriving family business that it was kind of my path. Yeah. And it just clicked. At one point, I'm like, this is not for me. So I started listening to podcasts, started kind of figuring out this real estate stuff, just like you see in the radio station, like, flip house. Like I was one of those clients, okay? And after a couple of months of digging, I found a wholesale. And I found somebody in my local market, kind of followed him around, learned, paid to learn, paid with money I didn't have, but I paid to learn. And man, it took me 3 months to get my first deal of sending mail, making offers on the MLS, talking to realtors, talking to property managers, just like doing everything incorrectly. After 3 months, I got a deal. Nice. And made $6,000. And the rest was fun. Like if I could do one, I could do three.
Yeah, no, that proof of concept, right? That first deal, going from an idea to seeing the check or collecting the cash is game changing. So I want to talk about that. So, right, you're 21 years old, you kind of have your path laid out, don't like it. You want to strive for something else. And, you give this wholesale thing a shot. So do you remember, what was it about the wholesale thing? Was it the fact that you could quote unquote get into a deal with none of your own money? Was it finding a bargain? Was it quick cash? What was it about wholesaling that initially attracted you?
Yeah, I think it was the quick cash, kind of like finding the deal methodology. Like I always kind of learned that find the deal first and then the money comes later.
Oh yeah.
Later. That's awesome. I'm like, okay, I can find the deal and then I can figure it out after. So that's what really attracted me. I'm like, okay, if I fix and flip, I still have to find a deal. Yeah. If I buy a rental, I still have to find a deal. So, wholesaling teaches you how to find the deals. It seems like that's my little, mind back then. That's all my, that's all it knew what to say to myself. Yeah. And I was like, all right, let's go into it.
Okay. I think, well, that's really important because sometimes people overcomplicate it. So I like that angle, right? So, okay, it was simple. It was easy to understand. It sounds like you knew that if you could do that, you could do other things. But I always like to talk about that first deal. Was it a local deal? Was it, did you do something right? Or did you just get lucky? What was that first 6K?
I love that question. So the first deal actually came inspiration from a podcast I listened to of how to get a deal using Go Section 8 website.
Oh, okay.
So what I did was, or what the podcast told me to do was go on gosection8.com. This was 2013, right? So there's a lot of, this is a different market, right? So what they were saying is like, okay, the properties listed on Go Section 8 are landlords.
Sure.
So what you could do is send them a text and say, hey, instead of, hey, I know you're looking to rent it, but instead of renting it, would you consider selling it? So I would just send a bunch of those text messages using Google Voice. Yeah. And after a couple of weeks, one property manager said, I'm not the owner, but let me ask my landlord and, or let me ask my client. Yeah. He asked his client, he said, sure, send us an offer. I sent them an offer via fax because that was the only way they wanted to accept it. Yeah. And I sent them an offer and they signed it. I just got a fax back. I didn't even have a conversation with them. They're like, I said, okay, here's a contract. It was like 61,000 or something. Sent it. And then like a couple hours later, I just got a fax back signed. I was like, whoa. I got one. I got one.
So how did you know values? What'd you write it? Was it local? Did you at least drive by it? Tell us a little bit more about how you got to the 61.
Yeah. Zillow. Okay. Zillow. It was local. It was probably like maybe 20 minutes from where I lived. but
Sure.
I never went to see it because it had a tenant inside.
All right.
So I just put it on Zillow, and then I saw the yellow dots,
Yeah.
and I saw that the yellow dots were like 120, 130. So I'm like, okay, half of that, whatever. So then I
All
spent
right.
61,
Okay.
and that's how I got it.
All right. So 61K. And again, it's really odd. So again, this is 2013, 2014. So let's remember it's not 2022, totally different market.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So we're coming out of it, right? Because I was buying back then. It was not the bottom, but we were maybe, well, I shouldn't say because I'm in California, not Florida. It was a hell of a lot closer to the bottom at that time. So because again, that owner had Zillow too. It wasn't like you had Zillow, some special tool that he didn't have or she didn't have. So so you say 61, clearly they wanted out. I mean, that's the only reason they agreed to 61. Now you've got a contract. How long did you have? Do you have 10 days, 30 days? How long did you have to find the buyer?
I had a 7-day inspection and a 30-day close.
Okay. So very traditional. All right.
Yeah, very traditional. Till this day, I really don't know why the owner sold at a discount, because he had a rented Section 8 and it was making him money. I think he just needed the cash. I don't know. But
sometimes you need the cash. I totally get it.
Yeah. And then it was a pretty interesting story. How I found the buyer was through another podcast I listened to, was, going on the public record website, seeing what LLCs have bought, which I think a lot of us still do at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know how to skip trace back then. Like, I didn't even know that existed. I just knew how to find the thing.
Right.
So I just Googled the name of a buyer that bought one down the street.
Yeah.
And Googled it. He bought it for like 70 something cash.
Okay.
And so I Googled him. It turned out to be an attorney. I called his office. He answered.
Oh, wow.
And right there on the phone, I told him about the property. And he said, you know what? Let me get my buyer, my partner on the line. So he three-wayed his partner.
Jeez.
And right there, we made the deal for the 6K, like in one phone call. It was like, I don't know. I don't think that happens all the time, but I had no idea what I was saying. I had no idea what I was doing. And it just happened. Like, I don't know, just from being there and just doing it.
Well, you were doing the work, right? I mean, that's a big saying I have on the channel. In fact, I have a hat that says do the work.
Here we go.
Yeah, right. Do the work, one rental at a time. Yeah, it's sometimes you just got to go. And if that phone call wouldn't have worked, he would have yelled at you or whatever. You'd have hung up, called somebody else. I'm sure he had a list of people to call. So that's amazing. So, okay, you get the first 6K check. Did you do anything special? Did you throw it right back into marketing? What did you do when you first saw that hit the bank account, or you collected the, $60, $100 bills?
Oh yeah. At that point, I was like in debt already.
Of course.
Like I had spent probably like 3,500 on direct mail.
Okay.
My mentor that I kind of found was 2,500 and plus. Like I was already kind of like in debt. So that 6K just like went back into the account to pay some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kept doing it, man. I mean,
all right.
That's
So
like the ugly truth that people don't talk about.
Yeah, well, that's again, I think that's great, because again, it costs money to get started, right?
Yeah.
So get the first deal. Let's roll a year or two into it. Once you got the first deal, then did you just get kind of a flow going? Was it a big gap between the first and second? Where do we go from here?
Yeah. Once I got the first deal, I kind of knew that this was it. Like I had no question in my mind. I was doing anything else.
Nice.
I completely stopped the car business. I completely stopped school, which I don't recommend to everybody. But and that first year, I ended up doing 44 deals.
Wow.
Yeah, completely solo.
So 44 deals in 12 months, rough math, that's 3.5 deals a month.
Yeah.
That's
and probably about
joke.
30 of them, I think it was like 32 of them, I sold to that same buyer from that phone call, by the way.
Wow. Now, did you start, this is a good, so sometimes when you find that cash buyer, you got to nurture that relationship and all of that. Did you guys go out to lunch, or did you guys really build a relationship, or did you just call him until he said no?
No, we did that first deal, and since he was the attorney, he closed it, right? He was the title company. So he's like, hey, come pick up the check. So I went to pick up the check. I met him. We had lunch, and we just spoke all the time. And we had dinners. I went to his house. And he gave me his deal criteria. Yeah. And I just went out shopping, and I want to find him.
Yeah, that's what you just said there. I've said many times. If you're new to this business, find a buyer and ask them. I call it your buy box. You called it a deal criteria. What do you want? Stop this shotgunning out there. Go find your buyer, your avatar, if you will, ask your avatar what they want and then market to that, right? It's genius what you did.
Yeah, and kind of what happened, it was a different time back then. So what allowed me to do so many deals so quickly was really the MLS. I was making a ton of offers on the MLS.
Yeah.
And so many properties on the market, foreclosure, short sales.
Yeah.
And it's weird because at the time when I first started going to masterminds around that time, they're like, MLS will never work, whatever. I'm like, it's working for me.
Yeah.
I was like,
worked for me too.
Yeah. So that's how it was, man. I just once I did that first deal, was that proof of concept, like you said,
Right.
like nothing else in my mind fit other than doing more deals. And I just
awesome.
became like a machine.
That's awesome. So you again, 44 deals all by yourself. Where does the journey kind of have a pivot? Do you get partners? Do you grow a team? Do you move from wholesaling to something else? Where does this journey go? Because you're a year in, 44 deals, most people would call you wildly successful already.
Great question. Yeah. So once I got to like the year mark, I knew I needed help because the buyers kept coming in, the contracts kept coming in. I'm like, okay, like I can't do much more by myself. So I got some family and friends to work with me, which worked for a while and then did not.
I knew that was coming, and it did not.
There's that pivot you're looking for. So and honestly, it was my fault. I just didn't know how to structure a company. I didn't know how to structure compensation. I didn't know how to I just brought them in, gave them percentages of deals, and nothing was written. It was really my fault. Like they did everything they were supposed to do. I didn't. I messed up there, right? Like it just happened. But it worked for a few years. We all made a bunch of money. It was great. And then the pivot was my two main guys left. Okay, we just not a meeting of the minds.
Yeah.
And then it was just me by myself with all this overhead, all this stuff. The MLS dried up. This is 2017 or so.
Yeah.
Foreclosure stopped, short sale stopped. And I find myself like, I don't know how to do anything else other than get deals on the MLS. I was doing some mail deals, and I'm going from 7 deals a month to 1 deal a month.
Ooh.
I have an office, I have a staff. I'm like, oof, what do I do now? And that's when I took a turn. I had to learn the off-market marketing game, cold calling, direct mail. It's a whole different business. It was a scary time for me at that time.
So again, right, people need to hear this. The markets change, right? Markets change. I've been doing this 21 years, lots of different markets. You will have to track your numbers, your stats. The market will go against you, and you will need to learn new skills. So, and it's amazing how many people are surprised by it. It's going to happen, right? If you get a little too spoiled doing one thing, that one thing is going to stop working eventually.
Yeah, no, I felt it. I mean, I remember that I was around that time, maybe end of 2017, beginning of 2018, I took a trip to Indonesia by myself, kind of I needed to clear my mind. I was like, let me pump the brakes. And I remember being on the phone with my accountant. It was midnight there and it was 12 p.m. here. And he's like, hey, Ro, I'm doing your taxes. And dude, your wholesale business comes out negative $200,000.
Oh, whoops.
I was like, I'm aware.
Thank you.
And I'm sitting on the beach midnight and I'm like, what the heck am I going to do now? So luckily I had some fix and flip businesses and other stuff that I didn't lose my ass that year, but it was painful. Okay. And first time I had ever lost money. And then I'm like, this is, I have to change. Things have to pivot. And
what year was this? Sorry, 18?
This is 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. That was 18 was a weird year. Again, I remember Q4 of 2018 transactions stopped.
Yeah.
Right. The Fed did that extra move, which they had then reversed, but people don't realize markets can change that sudden. Q4 2018 caught everybody by surprise. And I think we may have another jolt like that upcoming.
Yeah. No, it's, I tell that to people that either come to our meetups or some of my team. I'm like, guys, this is happening right now, but we all have to be prepared mentally, mainly more mentally than anything. Yeah, save money. That's fine. I get it. But mentally, you have to know that things can change at any moment. In this game, marketing, everybody goes, a lot of people go to these masterminds and events because every 3 months marketing numbers change a lot in this
Yeah.
game. You find deals and things. So it's really important you keep that kind of in your mind. It's a mental game first, I would say.
Well said. Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you're going to make it a business, right? If you're going to have an overhead and all of this, if you're a solopreneur doing it part-time, okay, I get it, right? You have a day job, but yeah, if it's a business for you, yeah, the market changes. It won't always stay the same. And if you, depending on how your mind handles that, you're either going to be wildly successful or struggle, because some of you are going to look at the changing market and go, yeah, I'm excited. It's a chance to get better. I'm going to crush the competition. The competition is going to go away. And if you're the other side, like it's, oh, woe is me, it's going to be like, oh my God, woe is me. And that's going to be hard.
That's gonna be hard. And that was me for a little bit until I'm like, all right,
Time to step up.
I'm not going down. I'm not gonna, I gotta do this. So, and it was a blessing, man. Ended up meeting a bunch of people that did the off-market stuff, ended up learning this game. We built a whole company around it. So now when the MLS comes back, I have those skill sets, and that's just gonna be another department I add for revenue.
No, I think that's the right way to look at it, because there are so many opportunities. So I know you went from mainly being a wholesale business to doing some fix and flip and maybe some buy and hold. So talk to me about your world today and what's Raul all about in this crazy world of real estate. What you got going on?
So wholesale is still our number one income generating thing. It's what finds us all the deals. I kept that same principle in my mind. Like, okay, if I'm going to be a flipper, I got to find deals. If I'm going to be a buy and hold guy, I got to find deals. If I'm going to be a wholesaler, do Airbnb, I got to find deals. So might as well start the business of finding deals. So I take care of that business. Number one, no questions asked. That's our wholesale game.
That's awesome.
Then number two is we have like a home buying company that flips and does the BRRRR strategy and rentals, the buy, rent, refinance, renovate, refinance thing. So that's pretty much my world. And we're going to kind of start with some Airbnbs now and stuff, but really it's just all real estate. It's wholesale, flip, rentals, and now some Airbnbs. That's pretty much all I do. I don't really veer too much off course. I know there's so many distractions out there.
There are distractions.
So
I know the first deal we talked about was 20 minutes from where you are. Are you still mainly Miami, Florida, or are you across the country, or what's going on?
Yeah, across the country. For wholesale across the country, for our flips and rentals in Florida only.
That makes sense.
It's kind of like the rule we have. Born and raised in South Florida. And I just believe in Florida as a state. I think it's going to be the most populated state in the next 7 to 10 years if we keep all our policies the same. The amount of influx of people, it's something you got to see to believe when you come down here, and when you've lived here. That it's just insane what's happening here. So
talk about Florida, maybe Miami specifically. I think. Well, actually, I know, right? I think I reported it on my daily financial news. I want to say it was Thursday or Friday of last week. The Real Deal, one of the sites that I read, reported that Miami is the least affordable market in the country. That's worse than New York and worse than San Francisco. That is nuts.
It's nuts. And this all happened in a span of like less than 2 years.
It's sudden, right? A lot of policies, a lot of reasons to go there. Your population's got to be going nuts. And what about building? Because that's one thing that people don't realize is the choice of a family to leave where they are and move to Florida, Miami specifically in this example, is a moment. Lots of people can get that moment all the time. And we've had 2 years of lots of great reasons to move to Florida. And it takes a while to build, right? Is there a bunch of construction going on? Is it mainly houses, what's going on the construction side?
In South Florida specifically, it's buildings. Condo buildings, apartment buildings, a ton of rental only luxury buildings. Like, oh wow, minimum rent for a 1-bedroom is like $3,000 a month. That kind of stuff.
That's what I assumed was happening. And what that's going to do is that's going to leave a big gap. I was just reading an article this morning, I think might have been Bloomberg, I think, talking about 25% rent increases in South Florida. And I'm like, wow. That's crazy. Because again, that whole niche, that affordable market's being missed, right? Because you're building all these luxury towers.
Yeah, no. And that's the only reason I started getting into the Airbnb market down here. It's because also the vacation rental space here, so many events. So it's a crazy market here, but we do also invest in other things like outside of Orlando, outside of Tampa and Pensacola.
Okay.
We've been buying mainly to do the BRRRR strategy there, to buy, a rental under 200K, renovate it, rent it, and just refinance it. And
get permanent debt on it, stick a tenant in and go, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about where do you see yourself taking this? You're now, what did you say? You're probably, what, are you even 30 yet?
I just turned 29 a couple.
I was trying to do the math. 8 years plus 21. Yeah, that's 29.
Yeah.
So where do you see this when you're an old man, like when you're 40?
An old man at 40. No.
I say that as a 50-year-old. So I'm trying to, I tried to make you laugh.
Yeah. Oh man, that's good. Man, honestly, I definitely have big goals. I have big aspirations, but I'm still kind of in the stage. I'm taking it day by day. We're still building our company. I have a lot to learn. I have a lot to achieve. Honestly, I see myself doing wholesale or owning a wholesale company as long as I possibly can, just because I love it and I love finding deals.
Yeah, that is, I want to just hit that again. That was something you anchored on right when you started, right? You knew that if you could find, or if you could prove to yourself that you have the skill of finding a deal, the exits will all change. It's amazing how that clicked for you very early on. So nice work.
Yeah, like for instance, like I'm doing 2 big deals in Miami, and I attracted a partner very easily because the deals are so good. Like I think anyone listening can take that into consideration. Like if you just spend the time to find the deals, there's so many possibilities that could open up.
So define a big deal. You said you got 2 big deals you're working on in Miami. Is that $500,000 or what's a big deal in Miami?
Yeah, basically $500,000 worth, 800 grand once it's all said and done each. I'm doing 2 of them.
Okay.
And I'm not good at those projects. I'm not a great rehabber, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I just partnered with a great rehabber. I said, hey, I got these deals.
Right.
I got the lending in place. You put the money, you do the rehab, and let's
go. There you go.
And that all stems from there. And man, I just taking it day by day. I want to build a huge portfolio. I want to build up leaders in this company. I really get juice out of. I had 2 people that started with me last year, and they had never made 6 figures, and one made 250K, and the other one made 177.
Wow,
and,
life changing.
That fires me up. Like if I can build 2 leaders a year that can make 6+ figures. And if you do that repeatedly, I feel like they would eventually take care of me and the company. So,
let's talk about if there are some sharks out there that want to join your team or come do some work and learn. How do you want them to reach out? How do you want them to follow? Because again, you're doing some pretty amazing things.
Yeah, YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, Raul Balufe. My Instagram as well. It's my name. Instagram and YouTube would be the best places to reach out to me. I answer pretty quickly on those mediums.
And both, I can't say that last name one more time.
Bolufe.
Bolufe is Bolufe, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other kind of closing thoughts on this you want to get? Maybe what would you tell someone who's 21 selling cars, not his path? What would you tell that person today? Because it's a different market. We got to be honest.
Really different market. Yeah, man. I would say it starts with the belief. I know this is kind of like corny and internal. I could give you as many practical tips, and Michael can give you as many practical tips as you want. But something that helped me was just, I always had the belief I was going to do something. I don't know what it was. And you can develop that belief in a second. Okay.
Yeah, agreed.
If you just really, really believe I can do my first deal, I can do 10 deals, 100 deals, you'll do it. So I'll say just believe where you are, just understand where you are and believe where you want to go can become a reality. And just start listening to podcasts, free channels like what you're listening to here, and you get enough tips. I mean, I got my first 40 deals just on tips that I learned from podcasts and YouTube. Like it's, I'm nothing special. I have 1.8 GPA in school. Like,
oh, so you're a smart guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier on. Is your gift was doing the work, right? You didn't know. I think a lot of new people overthink it. I can't tell you how many people that I hear want to get into wholesaling or real estate investing lose 6 months trying to think of a business name, a business structure. No, just start trying to figure out how to reach deals, right? You got to communicate with owners, and some of those owners might be sellers. And it takes effort. It takes effort, and it takes failure. Get knocked down, get up. Get knocked down, get up. There's so many people that have proved it's possible. Raul proved it with a 6K POC. I call it proof of concept. And just get to work and know that you're going to fail a lot, but eventually you'll have a success. And that success is awesome, right?
Yeah, no, it is. And I admire a lot what you're doing. Thank you. Also, we have a friend in common that Josh, and he had mentioned me about you. And actually, I read your book like maybe 8 months ago without even knowing.
Ah, cool.
And he's like, hey, Michael is probably the most persistent person I've ever met. That's what Josh. And so, guys, I mean, you're listening to the right guy. I mean, you're putting out a bunch of content. It's great. So, thank you for doing this for the community.
You got it, man. Thanks. Take care of yourself. Awesome job.
Awesome, man.